Hello, my name is Cristina Adriana Alexandru, and I am a research associate on the Scirocco Exchange project from the University of Edinburgh School of Informatics in the UK. Today, I would like to introduce you to Scirocco Exchange, the Scirocco tool, as well as the knowledge management hub that we are currently developing for the project. Following my presentation, my colleague Tamara Alhambra Boras from the University of Valencia will introduce you to the qualitative evaluation approach that she will use to assess the capacity building support for integrated care of our knowledge management hub. The Scirocco Exchange project is a EU Health Programme funded project which extended our original Scirocco project. It builds on the preliminary achievements of the European Innovation Partnership on Active and Healthy Aging. This involves the development of an integrated care maturity model and also of an assessment tool, which we called the Scirocco tool. The Scirocco tool is based on the 12 dimensions of the maturity model, which are represented graphically in this picture. The Scirocco tool started being developed as part of the Scirocco project and is now being expanded as part of Scirocco Exchange. It facilitates the scaling up of integrated care by defining maturity to adopt integrated care in terms of the 12 dimensions that I've just shown you. It also allows users to assess the maturity of health systems or the maturity requirements of good practices. This can be done graphically using a spider diagram as shown on this slide. The user can interact with the 12 dimensions of the spider diagram to record a ranking between 0 and 5 for each dimension. Finally, the Scirocco tool supports twinning and coaching to transfer good practices or facilitate the improvement of healthcare systems. And this is something that we need to further develop as part of our expansion of this tool. However, the most notable expansion will be the building of a knowledge management hub. The purpose being facilitating capacity building support for integrated care, as I will show you shortly. Why do we need a knowledge management hub? While the Scirocco tool identifies areas for improvement by allowing users to assess the maturity of their healthcare systems or the maturity needs of their good practices, it doesn't say how to improve. Moreover, different health systems have different improvement processes. However, what we noticed is that improvement processes all require knowledge, existing evidence, and experience at most stages in the process. Therefore, as part of Scirocco Exchange, we aim to support the use and reuse of such knowledge, evidence, and experience. Let's take the example of the Scottish improvement journey. This journey involved 5 stages. Let's focus on the third stage, develop, aim, and change theory. As part of this stage, Scotland decided to select several processes. First of all, one needs to find the aim, no more than 1 or 2 sentences that clearly state what will be improved. Then they need to identify 2 to 5 primary drivers, so the most important influencers on the aim. Furthermore, one needs to identify secondary drivers, which break the primary drivers down into natural subsections or processes. Finally, change ideas are identified, which are specific ideas that teams can test to see if they influence the secondary drivers and ultimately the aim. As can be observed throughout this process, we need knowledge, experience, and evidence to cover most of these stages. So, for example, to identify primary and secondary drivers. Moreover, to be able to come up with change ideas, we need theory, which again is based on experience, knowledge, and existing evidence. The challenge is that we have too much knowledge, evidence, and experience available, and most of it is low relevance. Therefore, as part of the Scirocco Knowledge Management Hub, we are creating a curated collection of assets that are meaningful to the community of users. What are assets? They can be either published works, local working documents, or experience reports. They are linked to each other as part of the Knowledge Management Hub, but also to users and to the dimensions of the Scirocco tool. Moreover, we can search these assets, and the search can be linked to Scirocco assessments. In the next 3 slides, I will show you a design of a few screens of how this can be handled as part of the Knowledge Management Hub. Within the Assets page, we can see how we can manage and curate assets. In the middle of this page, we have lists of asset collections. These collections were made up by the user, consist of assets that are relevant for specific assessments. And they can be either private, so the user's own, or they could have been shared with the user's colleagues. On the bottom of the screen, we can also see the user's own assets. The user will be able to add assets to this list, as well as edit them or remove them later on. Other users can mark assets as out of date if, for example, their URL has expired, and so the current user can edit them to update them. By clicking either on Browse Assets, Browse All Assets or Browse Assets for Assessment, the user is able to search for assets which are relevant. Let's start with Browsing Assets for Assessment. This will open up the spider diagram of the assessment. The user can directly interact with it or use the form on the left-hand side in order to select dimensions of interest as well as the maturity readiness levels that the user would be interested to read assets about. So the assets could be should be above those maturity readiness levels. To do it graphically, the user can indicate directly on the spider diagram what are the MRLs of interest for the wanted dimensions by using the blue bubbles shown in this picture. In the form, the user can select them manually, and moreover, the user can add more filters like the title, the author, the region, and so on. The results in terms of assets are shown on the right-hand side of the screen. They can be expanded so that the user can read more about these assets. And moreover, the user can decide whether they are useful at all. So either not useful, potentially useful, or useful. As soon as an asset is considered potentially useful, it will automatically be added to the collection of assets for this assessment for the user. If from the previous screen that we looked at, the user had instead clicked on Browse All Assets, he or she would have reached this page instead. On this page, the spider diagram is by default empty, and the user can again manually select the dimensions of interest and the MRLs that the assets should be above. Moreover, the user can, as before, enter additional filters from the left-hand side of the screen. The user can give a name to this collection, and assets will be automatically added to the collection as before when they are selected as at least potentially useful. This page can also convert to the page that we have just seen by selecting an assessment from the drop-down list on the top middle of the screen. This will replace the spider diagram with the spider diagram of the assessment, and the rest of the process is the same. Throughout our experience in both Scirocco and Scirocco Exchange, we realized that language is a big obstacle. While we aim to share experience across Europe, we realized that health workers mostly work in their mother tongue. We already use our community to work multilingually. And so, when building the Knowledge Management Hub, it is very important to include key assets like translations, summaries in different languages, translation skills, and moreover, support to ease moving assets from one language to another. Finally, future work for the Knowledge Management Hub. As I mentioned, I have only shown you some screen designs of the pages of the Hub, and the Hub is still under development. Furthermore, we know that initiatives like this often fail when the project finishes. And so a key goal is to make the Knowledge Hub sustainable. We can achieve this by ensuring that its use is sufficiently valuable to the community, it is easy to use, which will be done through testing and retesting in terms of usability, and we need to make sure that curating assets and developing them is simple and intuitive. This was my part of the presentation. Thank you for your attention, and if you have any questions, please contact me at this email address. I would like to now invite my colleague Tamara to continue the presentation on the evaluation of the Knowledge Management Hub.